My name is Maria M. Weeks, and I was 24 years old when this story began. I'm telling it now, because 4 years after everything fell apart, Jason showed up uninvited at my daughter's first birthday party, holding a wrapped present like he still had some place in my life. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoy stories like this. I met Jason when I was 24 and he was 22. We worked for different companies but moved in the same social circle. He was handsome, ambitious, confident, and had an energy that made people notice him the second he entered a room. I was completely smitten. Looking back, I realized that what I called charisma was sometimes Jason constantly checking whether someone more interesting had walked through the door. But when you're young and in love, warning signs have a strange way of looking harmless. We dated for 2.5 years. I thought we were building something permanent. I helped him move apartments twice, stood beside him during a difficult job transition, and loaned him money when his car unexpectedly broke down. My family welcomed him, although my mother later admitted she always felt Jason was performing whenever he came over. She never said anything then. "You looked happy," she told me years later. I didn't want to be the person who ruined that. The beginning of the end happened on a Saturday night in March. Our friends Dave and Kelly had invited us over to meet their 3-month-old daughter, Emma. She was tiny, red-cheeked, and absolutely perfect. I had always loved children. I was the friend who sat on the floor playing with toddlers while everyone else talked. I was the one who volunteered to hold someone's baby so exhausted parents could actually finish dinner. That evening, Emma started crying. Kelly looked exhausted, so I held out my arms. "Want me to try?" "Please," she said immediately. I walked slowly around their living room, bouncing Emma against my shoulder and whispering nonsense until her crying softened. Within minutes, she was staring up at me with enormous brown eyes. Dave laughed. "You're a natural." Kelly sank gratefully into the couch. "She likes you more than she likes Dave half the time." "Hey," Dave protested. Then Kelly smiled at me. "You're going to make such a good mom someday." Something warm spread through my chest. "I hope so," I admitted. "I've always wanted to be a mother. Honestly, I can't wait." I looked toward Jason. I expected a smile, maybe an embarrassed little glance acknowledging the future we had vaguely talked about. Instead, he was staring at his phone. His jaw was tight. "We should probably go," he suddenly said. "I have an early meeting tomorrow." It was 8:30 on a Saturday night. The drive home was almost completely silent. When I finally parked outside our apartment, I looked at him. "Hey, you seemed uncomfortable when I was holding Emma. Is something wrong?" Jason unbuckled his seatbelt. "Can we not do this?" "Do what?" "This whole future conversation." I hesitated. "I just thought maybe we should talk about it sometime. We've been together more than 2 years, Jason." He turned toward me. The expression on his face froze me. Disgust. "Our future, Maria?" "Yes." He laughed once, coldly. "I'd rather die than have your babies." For several seconds, I honestly believed I had misunderstood him. "What? Can you imagine the kids we'd make?" He continued. "God, Maria. Thank God we're careful." My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. This wasn't someone saying he wasn't ready. This was someone telling me that having a child with me sounded unbearable. "Jason, look at your family," he said. "That suburban little life. Kids. Weekend barbecues. Becoming miniature versions of you. Do you seriously think that's what I want?" My hands began trembling. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I can't imagine anything worse than being stuck raising your children." Silence filled the car. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand why he had spent 2.5 years beside someone he apparently considered so beneath him. Instead, something inside me became strangely calm. I nodded. "Okay." Jason frowned. "Okay what?" "Okay, I heard you." He stared at me, almost disappointed that I wasn't begging him to take it back. Then he grabbed his bag, got out, and slammed the door. I remained alone in the parking lot for nearly 20 minutes. And for the first time in 2.5 years, I stopped asking whether I was good enough for Jason. I started asking why I had ever believed Jason was good enough for me. The next few days were strange. Jason behaved as if nothing had happened. He made coffee in the morning, kissed me goodbye before work, texted me memes during lunch, and asked how my day had been when he came home. But something fundamental had broken inside me. Once I heard what he truly thought, I started replaying our entire relationship through a different lens. How many times had he joked that my job was safe but boring? How often had he changed the subject when I talked about my family? How many times had he introduced me to his coworkers with that faint, apologetic tone, as if I were someone he needed to explain? For years, I had called those moments misunderstandings. Now, they looked like warnings. The following Thursday, Jason went to his usual happy hour with coworkers. I packed my belongings. Not everything, only what was mine. My clothes, my books, my guitar. A box of photographs I almost threw away, but couldn't bring myself to destroy. I left one short note on the kitchen counter. I hope you find whatever you're looking for. Then I walked out. I blocked his number that night. I blocked his social media too. For weeks, Jason called from unfamiliar numbers. At first, the voicemails were angry. "Maria, stop acting like a child and call me." Then they became confused. "Can we please talk about this?" Eventually, they became softer. I didn't mean it like that. But I remembered his face in the car. He had meant every word. He even came to my new apartment twice. The first time, I stood behind the door without making a sound while he knocked. The second time, he waited nearly 20 minutes before leaving. Mutual friends asked what happened. I gave them the simplest answer possible. We wanted different things. That was technically true. But the truth went deeper than children. Jason wanted a life where he could keep evaluating whether something better was around the corner. I wanted a life where two people chose each other and stopped looking. For the first few months, I was a mess. Not because I wanted Jason back. I realized surprisingly quickly that I missed the version of him I had imagined more than the man himself. What hurt were the doubts he had planted. Was I really that ordinary? Was the future I wanted embarrassing? Would any man actually look at me and think, "I want her to be the mother of my children"? Eventually, I started therapy. For 8 months, I focused almost entirely on myself. I went to the gym consistently. I started playing guitar again. I reconnected with friends I had neglected because Jason always seemed to have somewhere more exciting to be. I stopped measuring myself through somebody else's approval. And slowly, I remembered who Maria M. Weeks had been before she spent every day wondering whether she was disappointing someone. That was when I met Samuel. I was browsing the philosophy section of a small downtown bookstore when a voice behind me said, "Nietzsche? Seriously?" I turned around. A man with dark curly hair was standing there, smiling. I raised the book defensively. "I know. Very pretentious 20-something woman of me." He laughed. I was actually going to say brave. I tried reading Beyond Good and Evil in college and wanted to throw it across the room after 20 pages. We talked for almost 2 hours. Samuel was a third-grade teacher. He was funny, without trying too hard, warm without being fake, and genuinely interested in what I had to say. At one point, I mentioned that I worked in IT, but had been thinking about going back to school for engineering. His face immediately lit up. "That's amazing. What kind of engineering?" I almost didn't know how to answer. I was so used to hearing questions like, "Why start over?" or "Isn't that expensive?" Samuel simply wanted to know more. 3 months later, we were officially dating. 6 months after that, I knew I loved him. The conversation about children happened naturally. We were babysitting his sister's kids for the weekend. I was helping 6-year-old Marcus finish a puzzle while Samuel sat nearby trying to braid 4-year-old Lily's hair. He was doing a terrible job. Lily looked at me and whispered, "Please help him." I laughed. Samuel pointed at me. No judging. A few minutes later, he looked over while I helped Marcus fit the final puzzle piece into place. "You're really good with them." "I love kids," I said. Then I froze. even after all that time, the memory of Jason's voice still lived somewhere inside me. Samuel noticed. What? I took a breath. I've always wanted children. He smiled. Me too. I stared at him. Your own? Of course. He looked genuinely confused. Don't you? Yes, I said slowly. I really do. Good. He returned to Lily's hair. I was hoping you'd say that. That was it. No argument, no disgust, no cruelty. Just two people quietly discovering they wanted the same future. Meanwhile, I occasionally heard updates about Jason through mutual friends. His dating life had become complicated. He dated several men who looked impressive on paper but either avoided commitment or treated him badly. One apparently dated two other women at the same time. Another borrowed money from him and disappeared. One afternoon, my friend Mike called me. Jason keeps asking about you. I sighed. What does he want to know? Whether you're seeing anyone. And what did you tell him? Mike laughed. The truth. What truth? That you seem happier than I've ever seen you. And I was. Samuel and I eventually moved in together. 6 months later, he proposed on a hiking trail we loved. There was no crowd, no photographer, no elaborate setup. Just Samuel, nervous and smiling, dropping to one knee before he could lose his courage. Maria, will you? Yes. He blinked. I didn't finish. I know what you were going to ask. We were both laughing when he slipped the ring onto my finger. The following spring, we got married in a small ceremony surrounded by people who genuinely loved us. His family welcomed me like a daughter. My mother cried through almost the entire ceremony. And when Samuel took my hand during our first dance, I realized something that should have been obvious years earlier. Love was never supposed to feel like an audition. 2 years after our wedding, our daughter was born. We named her Emma. Yes, after Dave and Kelly's daughter. The tiny baby who had unknowingly exposed the truth about Jason and, in a strange way, pushed me toward the life I was actually meant to have. Pregnancy with Samuel was nothing like the future I had once been taught to fear. He came to every appointment he could. He painted the nursery with me, argued playfully over baby names, read parenting books he pretended not to take seriously, and talked to my stomach every night as if our daughter were already listening. Sometimes I would wake up and find his hand resting gently over my belly. Those moments still felt almost unreal. Not because they were extraordinary, because they were so normal, so safe. When Emma was born, Samuel cried before I did. He held her against his chest, completely overwhelmed, and whispered, "She's perfect." Then he looked at me. "You're going to be an amazing mom." Those words broke something open inside me. For years, Jason's voice had lived in the darkest corner of my mind. I'd rather die than have your babies. Samuel erased none of that history, but holding our daughter, I finally understood how wrong Jason had been. Meanwhile, I heard that Jason's life was becoming more complicated. Mutual friends said he was on multiple dating apps, attending singles events, and constantly asking friends to introduce him to someone. The men he dated either didn't want commitment or lost interest once the relationship became serious. He's gotten bitter, Mike told me once, catching himself because he had nearly repeated an old description from another story we had been discussing. Jason complains constantly that men don't know what they want. I didn't feel satisfied hearing that. Mostly, I felt distant. Jason's life no longer had anything to do with mine. But when Emma was around 6 months old, his attempts to contact me became bolder. He called my office claiming we still had paperwork connected to our old apartment. There wasn't any. Then he messaged me on LinkedIn saying he wanted to reconnect professionally. I ignored that too. A week after Emma was born, he had even mailed a card to our house. I never figured out how he found our address. I threw it away unopened. The first time I actually saw Jason again happened when Emma was 8 months old. I was at Target buying diapers when I heard my name behind me. Maria? My stomach tightened before I even turned around. Jason stood several feet away. He looked older than I remembered. Not dramatically older. Just tired. Smaller somehow. His eyes immediately dropped toward the shopping cart. Emma was sitting inside, chewing happily on a teething ring. "Oh my God," he said softly. "Is this your—" "Yes." I rested one hand on the cart. "This is my daughter, Emma." Jason stared at her. "She's beautiful." "Thank you." Then he said something that once would have destroyed me. "She looks just like you." I waited instinctively for the insult that used to follow comments like that. It never came. Instead, his expression turned strangely wistful. "I heard you got married." "I did." "Congratulations." "Thank you." The silence became awkward. Then Jason cleared his throat. "How's motherhood?" I looked at Emma. She had discovered that banging the teething ring against the cart made noise and was very pleased with herself. "It's everything I hoped it would be." Jason flinched. I hadn't meant it as revenge, but we both heard the history inside that sentence. "That's wonderful," he said quietly. Then he hesitated. "I'm actually trying to have kids now." I looked back at him. He forced a laugh. "Well, trying to find someone to have them with, I mean." I nodded politely. "It's been harder than I expected." I didn't ask questions. I didn't offer sympathy. There was nothing cruel about my silence. I simply didn't owe Jason emotional comfort anymore. "Well," he finally said, "I should let you get back to mom stuff." "Take care, Jason." I pushed the cart toward checkout. For the first time, walking away from him felt effortless. The second encounter was worse. Samuel and I were at a friend's barbecue when Jason arrived with a man from their extended social circle. Apparently, Jason was his date. He spent most of the afternoon hovering near us. He complimented Emma, asked about our house, asked Samuel about his teaching job, asked me whether I had ever gone back to school. Everything sounded casual. Nothing felt casual. At one point, Samuel smiled politely. "So how long have you two known each other?" Jason glanced at me. "Oh, Maria and I dated years ago." Samuel already knew. I had told him everything early in our relationship because I never wanted Jason to become some hidden secret between us. "We were together for a while," Jason continued. "We just wanted different things." Samuel nodded. "That happens." Later, while I was putting Emma into her car seat, Jason approached me alone. "He seems nice." "He is." "You look happy." "I am." Jason stared at the ground. "I've been thinking about us lately." I closed Emma's door. "There's nothing to think about." "I made mistakes." "You did." "I was young, Maria. Stupid. I said things I didn't mean." I finally looked directly at him. "You meant them." His face tightened. "But what if I've changed?" I shook my head. "Then I hope you find someone who wants the same life you want now." His voice became quieter. "What if I want what you have?" I looked through the car window. Samuel was already inside, making Emma laugh. "Then build it with someone else." For several seconds, Jason didn't speak. I opened my door. "Take care of yourself." Samuel waited until we were halfway home before asking, "That was him, wasn't it?" "Yes." "The ex who said those things about having children with you?" I nodded. Samuel looked out the window. "He seems miserable." "Maybe." "You don't feel bad?" I thought about Jason standing beside the cooler, finally wanting the exact future he once mocked. Then I looked back at our sleeping daughter. "I don't know what I feel, but I would soon find out." Because Jason wasn't finished. And the next time he appeared, he wouldn't wait for an accidental meeting. He would come directly to my daughter's first birthday party. Uninvited. The final encounter happened last week at Emma's first birthday party. We rented the small community center near our house. Nothing extravagant. Just family, close friends, balloons, homemade decorations, and enough food to feed twice as many people as we had invited. I was outside arranging tables when a familiar car turned into the parking lot. My stomach dropped. Jason stepped out carrying a wrapped present. He was dressed far too formally for a 1-year-old's birthday party, and the fact that he knew exactly where and when we were celebrating told me this wasn't coincidence. Samuel appeared beside me. He had seen Jason through the window. "Do you want me to handle this?" he asked quietly. I shook my head. "No, I've got it." I walked across the parking lot before Jason could reach the entrance. "Hi, Maria." He held up the present almost like a peace offering. "I brought something for Emma." "Jason, you can't be here." His smile faltered. "I just wanted to—" "No." My voice was calm. "This is my daughter's birthday party. My family is inside. You weren't invited and you're not welcome. I just want to see her, wish her happy birthday. She's one. She doesn't know you exist." His face tightened. "I'd like to keep it that way." That was when his composure finally broke. "Please, Maria." I stared at him. "I know I messed up," he said. "I know I said horrible things. But I've changed." "I hope you have." "I want kids now." I said nothing. "I want what you have. Then build it with someone else." His eyes filled. "I can't." The words came out almost angrily. "Dating is impossible. Nobody wants anything serious. Everyone lies or disappears or says they aren't ready, and I'm running out of—" He stopped. Time. He didn't need to finish. The word hung between us anyway. "I'm sorry you're struggling," I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. "But that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you." Jason stepped closer. "You were the one person who actually loved me. You wanted a future with me, and I threw it away because I was an idiot." I felt something strange then. Not satisfaction. Not revenge. Just clarity. "You threw it away because you looked at me and said you couldn't imagine anything worse than having children with me." His face went pale. "Maria, those were your words. I was wrong." "No." I shook my head. "You were honest." He stared at me. "And I'm grateful you were." "What?" "Because if you hadn't said it, I might have stayed." I glanced toward the community center. Through the window, I could see Samuel holding Emma while my mother taped another crooked decoration to the wall. That night led me here. Jason followed my gaze. To Samuel. To Emma. To a life where I don't spend every day wondering whether the person beside me secretly thinks he's settled. Tears finally slipped down Jason's face. "I have to go inside. Maria, please. Can we just talk sometime? Coffee. Anything." "Goodbye, Jason." I turned around. Behind me, I eventually heard his car door slam. Then the engine started. Inside, Samuel was bouncing Emma on his hip. "Everything okay?" I looked at my husband, then at my daughter. "Perfect." I kissed them both. That evening, after Emma had destroyed her birthday cake and everyone had gone home, Samuel and I cleaned the room together. "Do you think he'll try again?" Samuel asked. "Maybe." "You're strangely calm about this." I looked around at the remnants of the party. Tiny handprints in frosting, half-deflated balloons, gifts from people who adored our daughter, pictures of the three of us covered in cake and laughing. "Because this is real," I said. Samuel stopped cleaning. "What I had with Jason wasn't really a future. It was me waiting for him to finally want the same things I wanted." I smiled. "I don't have to wait anymore." Samuel leaned over and kissed me. Then he whispered against my lips, "For the record, I love your genetics." I laughed. "Good. Why?" I looked toward Emma, asleep against my mother's shoulder. "Because I've been thinking she might need a little brother or sister." Samuel's eyes widened. "Really? Really?" 4 years ago, Jason made me believe wanting a family made me ordinary. Now I know better. I don't hate him. I don't want him miserable. I genuinely hope he finds happiness. But he will never find it with me. Some words cannot be unsaid. Some doors should remain closed. And sometimes the cruelest ending becomes the beginning of the life you were always supposed to have. We are exactly where we belong.